All right, I guess we can get started. Aaron, you okay with me taking it away? And so I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar. I want to thank our guests for joining us. Uh, Business Incubator Association of New York State. I'm Mark Alessi, the Executive Director. We're a member-led trade association of 107 incubators and accelerators from across New York State. For those of you counting, yes, we've taken on 5 new members over the past month. Very excited about that. Today's program, we realized the importance of this program as BIANYS started putting together and getting ready to launch the application for our soft landings program. We were talking to a number of partners, both internationally and domestically, on the soft landings program, where we're going to welcome companies from around the world to New York State and help introduce them to our local ecosystem through the incubators. And we started talking to Global New York about our program on some of the companies that are going to be coming to New York State and our interest in bringing some of the companies within our incubators and providing them opportunities uh, with international sales and introductions in other countries. And that is something that has been a robust program at ESD for quite some time. And as we talk to the Global New York program and Ed and his team and Lauren, we learned that there's a lot of programs right now that our incubators and their incubated clients can take advantage of. And we expanded the scope of today's talk, inviting Jennifer Teagan from New York Ventures. And our whole panel has a special component of the programs that are available to startups in New York to go global. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Erin and she can kick off the program.
Okay, thank you, Mark. We are going to start with Brian, Ed, and Lauren's presentation. So Brian, I think you're going to share your screen and then we'll hear from the three of you.
First of all, for everybody that's tuned in to hear our presentation, thanks for making the time. We'll take just a couple of minutes, talk about Empire State Development and what we do in terms of attracting foreign investment. And then we'll also talk a little bit about, actually Brian will talk a little bit about the assistance and grant funding that ESD through Global New York can make available to companies that have an interest in expanding into international markets. So briefly, I'm not sure how many people are really aware of what Empire State Development is. We are the state's economic development organization, and we have lots of different departments and divisions that have very unique responsibilities in terms of sort of unique placeholders in the economic landscape. We assist motion pictures in New York State. We provide direct assistance to businesses. Many of you may be familiar with our regional offices, and they provide assistance at the more local level. And then frankly, we have Global New York, and Global New York's mission is to make New York State businesses competitively engaged in international markets. So if you have a product or a service that you're interested in taking to international customers and clients, Global New York is that part of ESD that does that sort of work. Another part of ESD actually falls within the purview of the Strategic Business Division, but we share international resources, is the fact that SBD is responsible for attracting both domestic and international investors into the state. What we've discovered over over the period of several years of providing these sorts of services to international clients is somewhere between 10 and 20% of the clients that we talk to are young or early stage companies, and many of them are looking for a soft landing within the state of New York. And many of them are also interested in trying to find venture capital as well. So we try to meet those expectations and provide some level of assistance to those companies. Brian? Yeah, we do that through the fact that we have international offices. We often refer to them as boots on the ground in international locations. These offices, for the most part, provide trade and investment services for international companies, again, looking for a connection or eventual soft landing into New York State. We hope that they come, and we hope that they create jobs for New York State residents. So, our focus is, on trying to identify who those companies are. Sometimes they'll self-identify. They'll come to our website and tell us who they are and what they're interested in. And sometimes we run campaigns through our international offices, and we're looking for a particular kinds of companies. As an example, right now we're clearly interested in all things COVID and all things related to PPE. So you'll find our foreign offices have expended a considerable number of hours looking for companies that work in these spaces, and we're actively engaged in site selection for a few of those companies. Again, the end game here is to create jobs within New York State. So for those in the audience that are in the managing the incubator space, frankly, we'd love to hear from you. We're certainly working with your organization, and we know that there are programs in place and programs that are being crafted that specifically will meet the needs of the international community. And frankly, we'd like to partner with that kind of activity and provide whatever services that we can to drive international companies to look very hard at New York State and the incubators and the assistance that we have available. I guess that's frankly what I have to say in terms of what we're intending to do. And Brian, if you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you do that may put money in the pockets of some of these companies.
Definitely. Thanks, Ed, and thank you, Mark. As both of them had just mentioned, as part of Global New York, we do have export assistance services programs, including some grants that we have available for New York State companies that meet our requirements to increase their export sales or start sales in new markets. These include the Export Marketing Assistance Service, the State Trade Expansion Program, STEP, which is a federal program, and then the Global New York Grant Fund, which is a state program as well. So starting off with EMAS, this is a no-cost service that we offer to New York State businesses. As Ed was mentioning back, referencing the map that he was showing with our offices listed in Canada, Mexico, Europe, Israel, South Africa, also China, and we have an office in India too there. Not so much for export assistance, but hopefully in the future that will expand. But we can connect companies with those office representatives, foreign office directors to provide sales agents, distributors abroad, as well as market intelligence reports for businesses. The eligibility requirements here has to be a New York State company, at least 1 year in business and viable for exporting, 500 employees or less, and then 51% of the value has to be added in New York State. We have an easy online application, again, for this free service that we offer New York State businesses. And this service, you can apply for 2 different markets per application. This is an example of the online application. And so you could apply for Canada, Mexico if you wanted to start out there. The UK also in Europe is an easy one, or relatively easier because it's English speaking. So that's one of the ones that companies that are new to export usually go with first. But any of those offices, if there's a unique export opportunity that you see for your business or that you'd like to explore, you can talk to myself and I can work with you on the application to refer you to our foreign office directors. So the next program, the State Trade Expansion Program, this is a federal grant that New York State has applied for every year since the program began under the Obama administration. Currently, we have 3 active STEP programs. We have Step 7, Step 8, and now Step 9, each of which companies can apply for grants related to trade shows, international trade shows or domestic trade shows with if it's a domestic show, it would have to have a significant international presence that you can document and show to us. And we're able to give grants of up to $13,000 combined for each of these years. So if there is an international trade show that you have identified, or even other services as well, which I'll get into in a second, then we can give you some assistance. All of these grants are reimbursement based, either 70% or the total max of each grant category for each different eligible activity. So the different activities here, we have financial assistance for us for travel. In the future, when COVID isn't as bad, and hopefully we've gotten past it, when travel becomes more common again, we can help with that. Global New York does do foreign-led trade missions, and I'll be discussing that in just a minute too with some upcoming ones that you can keep on your radar. Subscription service to the U.S. Department of Commerce, they also offer a variety of export services that we can help pay for with this grant. Export training workshops, if there is a training either for just additional information about a market you're interested in, it could be an internet export legal kind of workshop where you get to understand some of those kind of regulatory environments around the world and how your company might need to navigate that before exporting. Again, international or qualified trade exhibit, up to $5,000, or it would be 70% of the total project cost, and that's for all of these. We also do website content, foreign language translation services, which is significant, and that might be very relevant to any companies now either looking to expand or get into a new international market. And then also international marketing campaign, virtual services. We added that very recently, given the COVID environment, so companies can do more virtual services. Virtual trade shows are also counted with our international trade show category. So if there is a trade show, but they might be doing a virtual component or substitution, that would be something we could assist you with. And then compliance testing as well is significant. We were able to have permission to include that as an eligible category. So for Step 7, for Step 8, excuse me. Under Step 8, if you were to apply for that application, then you could apply for compliance testing, which means if there's a certification need to get into the European Union market or another international market, then we could offset the cost of that compliance testing for your company and for your products. Eligibility, it's a little broader because this is a federal program, so it's 51% added value in the United States, as I have a little further down there. The business has to operate in New York State, manufacture, assemble, or distribute a product or provide an exportable service, a business for at least a year, and an eligible small business concern per the SBA size standards, which be 500 employees or less as well. We have an online application, and the website you can go to for all information on our programs, global.ny.gov. That website again, global.ny.gov, and that'll take you to all of our programs and our page on the Empire State Development website. These are some of our upcoming New York State-led export activities. We've done 3 in 2019, and then we have some coming up in 2021 as they were postponed because of COVID in 2020. We have a South Africa trade mission in February, which we're hoping will still be able to go off. Obviously, we'll have to see how conditions on the ground are. The Hanover Messe Trade Show was rescheduled for April 2021, as last year's it was postponed. So we are leading companies. If you feel that would be a good trade show for your business, then you can talk to me. I'll be participating in that, and we're still recruiting some companies for it. And we have trade show monies to offset the cost for that. And then also a trade mission to Canada we're looking to do in April 2021 as well, multi-sector trade mission. And the last program that I'll discuss briefly, the Global New York Grant Fund. This is a New York State funded program that Governor Cuomo established in 2016, and we've been assisting companies with that since then. We're able to provide larger grants than the STEP program is. With this program, it's $10,000 to $25,000 for for-profit companies. So this would be if you're going to be bundling several export activities into one project, and then you would submit them together. So it could have a long review as opposed to identifying one trade show and then applying for that kind of separately with the STEP program. 51% added value in New York State, 500 or fewer employees, and at least 1 year in business with the ability to export. We are able to provide assistance to not-for-profit organizations, economic development organizations. Unfortunately, I will have to mention at this time, though, the Global New York Grant Fund has been put on pause because of COVID-related issues. So we're identifying when this program will be coming back online, hopefully sometime in 2021. But in the meantime, I would really strongly recommend looking at EMAS and also the STEP program for any type of grant monies. The EMAS for any companies that are looking to identify new markets, get some more information on existing markets you're already exporting to. If you might be exporting a small amount to a current market and you'd like to learn more about the market so you can increase your sales there, then the EMAS program is a great option for you. And again, it is a free service we provide. So we'd really encourage you can contact me, contact our office, so we can discuss that with you. These are the eligible activities for the grant fund, which is similar to the STEP program. And also, the nonprofit organizations have a couple activities that we can help with as well. So we're excited to get this program back up and running, hopefully again in mid to late 2021 it's looking like right now, but I'll definitely pass on when this program is available again. In the meantime, though, for the current programs they have available, the Export Marketing Assistance Service and the State Trade Expansion Program, please do feel free to contact our office here. And for any additional information, I'm sure Mark can send around my contact information too. You can contact me directly with any questions as well. So we really look forward to working with you in the future. And thank you, Mark, for having us here.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Very much appreciated. So next up, I think we're going to have Lauren. Lauren, are you ready to share your slides?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so just some audio issues here, but thanks, Brian and Ed. I mean, I would just add, so my role is partnerships. I work closely with Brian and Ed, so trade and FDI. New York is a big state. We have a lot to offer. And so any questions you have, another thing we do is help connect you and knit you into the various networks throughout the state with ESD, also with our sister agencies. So we just encourage you to start the conversation with us. And, this is the beginning of many. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, Lauren. So next up to present is Jennifer Teagan, who many of you on the call know from her many years in venture capital. And I would say recently, but I know that we're dealing with COVID time. So it was a few months back now. Jennifer took over New York Ventures, and she can detail a little bit more about that program for those of you who are not familiar with it and where that program is going.
Great, thank you, Mark and Erin, for coordinating this session. Just gonna share my slides. It's good to see everybody this morning, or at least see your names. So yeah, I joined New York Ventures after an 18-year career in the private sector, in part because I was, excited by what I was seeing relative to the how New York is investing or has invested in the innovation ecosystem, and excited to be a part of it and to be a part of a program that's been really successful for the state of New York. And relative to, companies, if there are any companies on the call who are looking to move to New York State, certainly once you're here and get kind of settled into the ecosystem, reach out to us if you end up looking for venture financing. I'm never so good at knowing how to, okay. So I hope you can see, can people see my slides okay?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know if I'm in slideshow mode. Here we go. Okay. Great. There. Great. So New York Ventures, I joined in April. We're also part of Empire State Development. We're in the Small Business and Technology Development Division. The head of that division is Pravina Raghavan. We sit next to other amazing people who support small businesses at all of all types. And in a little while, you're going to actually hear from Colby Creedon, who's part of the NYSTAR team that does a lot of work with pre-seed and seed stage companies and the accelerators and incubators around the state. The mission of New York Ventures is to support and invest in diverse entrepreneurs and the high growth companies across the state of New York to ensure a healthy, sustainable, and economically vibrant future for all New Yorkers. This is our team. We have 5 investment professionals who work. Half of us are upstate and the other half are in New York City. And we look to invest all across the state of New York. About 60% is designed to be outside of New York City and the balance inside of New York City, given that New York City already is pretty rich with capital resources. So that's why the focus is a little more outside of the city rather than inside. Our program to date has encompassed 2 parts. We have a direct investment fund, and that is our active fund, and that is what I'll spend most of the time talking about this morning. We've also historically had a fund of funds program where we supported other funds across the state to invest at different stages of the startup life, including pre-seed and seed stage companies. The fund of funds program that we have had, and I say had because we don't have an active fund of funds program, but most of these funds that were our partners and that we did invest in, I like to show this slide because most of them are still quite active in the space and still continue to invest in startups across New York State. So always good to show you those slides. It's Golden Seeds and FF Capital, Excel Partners, Partnership Fund of New York City, Stonehenge. Actually, Stonehenge recently changed its name to Popmark, I think. And then the direct fund. Currently, so the direct fund is a $100 million venture fund. It's mostly focused on seed and early stage, so kind of the seed capital, your first institutional round of capital up through the Series A is when we would get involved. We currently have invested in 31 different companies across the state of New York. About 44% of those are outside of New York City, the balance inside of the city. And we've invested a total of $41 million. We're also really proud of the fact that we very intentionally try to find and work with women and minority teams and diverse founding teams. And right now we're actually at over 48%, so I need to update my slide. And industry-wide, it's closer to 2% for women and less for, especially for Black founders. So our stats are certainly better than the rest of the industry. Here's a look at our portfolio and the sectors that we invest in. We strategically focus on areas of interest to the state of New York, especially. So no surprise that life sciences and healthy communities is a big piece of what we've done and what we will continue to do. Climate solutions and clean energy is also incredibly important to the state of New York, given the aggressive climate goals that Governor Cuomo has. Agricultural systems and the future of food has been a big area of interest for New York State as well. SaaS IT data is kind of a bigger bucket of things that we have done. And that group incorporates everything from big data to educational technology to the future of work. And then lastly, we also have advanced manufacturing as a strategic area of focus. And then what we look for, there are 3 key buckets that our team always evaluates every startup opportunity on, and you don't have to fill all 3, but if you do, it's definitely an easier sell to us. First is, I'm sorry, I have 4 or more than 3, but the key 3 things that we look for are that you have a diverse founding team, that you are in one of our key sectors, that the clean energy, healthcare, life sciences, big data, IT, SaaS, advanced manufacturing, agricultural systems. And lastly, we do, given where we are relative to our investment mix, we prefer outside of New York City versus inside of New York City, but we'll look at both for sure. And then a couple of other key factors that we look to, obviously high growth companies, or ones that are here already or willing to relocate here. Seed stage to Series A. And New York State does not lead deals. That's important for everybody to know. We look to co-invest and leverage off of private sector monies for every investment that we make. And we need $2 for every dollar that New York State invests of private sector money. And of course, that you have a sustainable competitive advantage in a large and growing market. We are a venture investor. The returns that we receive from the investments that we made get recycled back into our fund, and then we get to invest more into other great startups in the state of New York. And then how to reach out to us. You can contact us or any of our team members here, and certainly Mark and Aaron can share these slides out for anybody who's interested, but please reach out if you have a company that you want to let us know about.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And we have one more presenter, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A for all of the presenters that spoke today. But next up is Colby Creedon with ESD. Colby is helping tie together all of the various programs at ESD to maximize their effect. So Colby, you can take it away.
Sure. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so my name is Colby Creedon. I'm a commercialization fellow at NISTAR, which is a division of Empire State Development. And I think everyone's gotten a decent overview of NISTAR, but yeah, New York's Economic Development Agency. And within the ESD, NISTAR is the division of science, technology, and innovation. And what we do is support innovation and commercialization across New York State through a variety of programs with venture development organizations, universities, nonprofits, et cetera, all to help companies hit critical milestones in the state that advance their businesses. So a few of the programs we have, we've got over 70 programs, centers of advanced technology and centers of excellence, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, incubators and hotspots. All of these programs help companies at various different stages from just getting started until they're ready to operate on their own. So for companies coming into the state or working in the state at any stage, there's likely a program that we have that'll support. And to dig a little bit into the COEs and the CATs, the Centers of Excellence and Centers of Advanced Technology, we've got 29 centers across the state, each focused on applied research and industry partnerships. Each center leverages the unique expertise of the university where it sits. So given that we've got 29 centers, we've got 29 focus areas, and these centers are really helpful to companies with technology that are looking to either improve their technology, develop new technology, and bring it to market. And these centers have been fairly successful, helping with companies generate revenue and invest that money back into New York State through jobs. So just as an overview, there are 29 centers of excellence and centers of advanced technology combined, but just so you can see the breadth of expertise, here's a list of the centers of advanced technology, and you'll see things range from nanotechnology, biotechnology, and energy, and a lot of other expertise there. So similarly, we've got the centers of excellence. Again, a wide range of expertise that companies can take advantage of through partnering with the centers and working with the faculty to develop tech or improve tech, and get and commercialize things and bring them to market. And then we've got the manufacturing extension partnership. This will help companies within New York State or moving to New York State with a variety of manufacturing needs. We've got a lot of manufacturing resources here in the state, and if there's a company that's looking to make that move or needs help, we can do that, and we do that through a partnership with Fuse Hub. So if you have any questions or your manufacturing company, feel free to reach out and I can make that connection for you. And then on the earlier stage of things, the incubators and hotspots, they're located throughout the state. If there's a part of the state that's attractive to the company, chances are we've got a hotspot or an incubator that's nearby. And these are, provide typical incubator support, space, coaching, mentoring, etc. So if you're in need of any support on the incubation side, getting started, trying to figure things out as a startup company, we've got a lot of people here in the state working at these incubators and hotspots who can help make things happen for you. And then for folks who are familiar with NYSTAR, and for folks who aren't, a couple of the new things that we've got going on. We've got the Invest New York series. We just had our first event yesterday. These events focus on bringing companies in to pitch to investors. Right now they're virtual. And each event is focused on a specific industry vertical. So we had clean energy and transportation yesterday, which was a really good event. We've got health and well-being coming up, Industry 4.0, and the future of food. These events will be happening over the next few months. So if you're interested, we'll have please reach out and I can send you a link to sign up or give you more information. We also have cybersecurity assistance for manufacturers. We can help manufacturers get to a point where they're able to meet customer security requirements if customers are doing any, or if their customers have any requirements with respect to data security or other cybersecurity needs. And then we have some CARES funding that went to the New York MEP to help with various manufacturing assistance. So yeah, any questions, feel free to reach out. And then we also have a couple funding opportunities, manufacturing grants, the commercialization competition, which is coming up in November. The awards will be made for this last round. And then we also have some PPE grants that help manufacturing companies acquire PPE so they can work through the pandemic. And that's all I've got. But if there's I think one message that I hope everyone here leaves with is that New York State has got a variety of resources for early stage companies. And if you're unaware of something or you have any needs that aren't apparent in the presentation I gave today, feel free to reach out. Chances are we've got a way to help. And if not, it'd be great to learn how we can acquire a capability that'll help. So with that, I think that's all I've got. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Brian. Very much appreciated, and thank you for everybody on the panel. For those who have joined the call that are New York companies looking to expand internationally, these programs, if you aren't aware of them already, I think you're probably just as impressed as I have been as I got to know these programs over the past few weeks. The BIANYS program committee is going to be discussing over the next month or two what we can do going into 2021 to really maximize and efficiently try to utilize these programs, with our members directly. There is a lot of the installations that we've talked to internationally for companies that are coming here to New York are also interested in hosting some of our companies internationally. So that might play into a lot of these programs. And for the international companies on this call, we recognize some of you as you registered, many of the companies that we've talked to over the past 6 months getting ready for the soft landings program. This is just scratching the surface of the programming available in New York State. This is a number of the programs that branch out of our economic development department in New York State, but there is other programs through the New York State Energy and Research Development Authority. I think Brian touched a little bit on some of the business plan competitions. So there are a lot of opportunities here in New York, and we're hopeful that we can help you navigate those. Want to go to questions. We've had 2 questions come in so far. For others on the call that have questions, feel free to put them into the chat, and we'll ask those questions on behalf of you. So the first question that came up, and I'll just throw it out to the panel in general. How would you respond to those who are worried about how hard hit New York was during the pandemic? Well, articles claiming New York is dead. I'm going to call on somebody if somebody doesn't jump in.
I'll take a shot, and hopefully others will join us. All of us at ESD have been engaged in either tasks, sort of directly to support this securing of PPE and all of the sort of emergency activities that I guess were part of our initial response to the COVID pandemic. We quickly transitioned from that into activities that would assist companies in sort of starting up or restarting up their operations, and we continue to work in that space. And frankly, where we are now, I think, is we're back into exploring markets for those companies that are back into exploring markets and finding new places for their products. And clearly, we're open for business in terms of attracting inward investments and for those companies that manage to smuggle themselves into New York. We've actually done some site visits to show them some sites. So we're, as an agency, we're up and operating. Are we at 100% capacity in terms of what we've done in the past? No, I think on the investment side, we still have a lot of companies that want to come that are waiting for COVID and quarantine regulations to ease a bit, as we sort of offer assistance to existing New York companies, most of our manufacturers seem to be back in operation. My take, and maybe my colleagues can fill in here, the service companies are still providing services, albeit many of them from remote locations. So I'd say business may be off for some businesses. Other businesses seem to be doing quite well.
No,
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Oh, sorry,
no,
Mark. I look like I'm on mute, but I'm just to piggyback on that. We've been very busy. We have, as Ed mentioned, been focused on PPE and helping our New York State manufacturers retool to make PPE. So while certain areas are perhaps more quiet, we have other areas that are now booming as we look to increase in-state production and don't end up in the same situation that we were in March and April. So we've had a lot of businesses pivoting, hopefully, creating long-term business units in these medical spaces. In addition, we're adapting and adjusting in virtual formats, and Brian can speak to the trade side, but, we're just changing the way we do business, but we're still, very busy and and doing a lot of these conversations and a lot of efforts with our international partners as well.
Yeah, and then just going off what Lauren was saying there, we do have virtual services, and we've been adjusting our STEP program so we can help companies in that way. We started doing virtual webinars as well with our foreign directors. We had that back in August and a little bit in September. Those will be made available at some point in the future on the website. But we do want to do more of that so that our foreign directors can talk to your companies directly on a more frequent basis. And then we're also doing a lot of other pushes, just such as this meeting right now, this presentation, to try to get our programs in front of as many companies in New York State as possible so we can help them with grant assistance for exports, as there is a huge international market around the world. That is another source of revenue that companies can explore and can take real advantage of and see good profits in. So we want to help as much as we can, and we want to get as many companies participating so they can grow out of what we've all been going through.
Thanks, Brian. No, I'm actually going to answer that. I'm assuming that the question came from one of our international participants, and I'm going to sound like an arrogant New Yorker, but we've seen crises before our region, and we've grown out of them. And New York is a very resilient place, both from the economy and the way we do business and the way we live our lives here. You know, if you take a look at how our state government and our governor has handled the crisis in New York, at one point we were the ground zero of the pandemic and had the worst rate of COVID-19, and New York State has managed that to become one of the lowest rates of the pandemic, and has used data to look at where there might be hotspots, and then they deal with those hotspots. We saw an uptick just a few weeks ago in certain areas again, and the state government managed through that, and we saw those areas subside. So I think the response has been really commendable. And if there's going to be a place to start doing business in the US, New York, I've always said, is a good place to start, but even more so now. So the next question, what do you think is the most important thing a startup should be doing right now? I'm assuming during the pandemic.
Yeah, I'll start on that one. Since we've been counseling startups on just that for the last 5 months, you know, of course, it depends on the startup and the market that they're in. Some have had, you know, all of them seem to kind of hunker down initially and make sure they knew what their resources were and how much time they had to go. Some of them were surprised at their business actually being able to grow relative to different needs that the situation had, and some of them have had to hunker down a bit more. For example, companies that were working out of labs where they had to shut down their experiments for a while to be out of their office spaces, certainly that delayed some of the work that they were doing, and so they really had to think hard and about their cash reserves to make sure that they could stretch them out over a longer period before they could hit those key milestones that they needed to. So some tough decisions have had to be made around resources and team and how to make sure that they could still achieve the milestones that they need to achieve to raise their next rounds of funding. And you know, fortunately, we, at least in our portfolio, we haven't seen any closures during this period of time, so that's good. But as far as what entrepreneur, I mean, that fundamentally, I don't think it changed. You still need to figure out how to grow your business. You have to do it in an environment where resources are probably going to continue to be more limited for a while. So time to, you know, entrepreneurs are extraordinary people because they, if anybody can figure it out, they can. I mean, they are the innovators. They are the people. Honestly, like, I commend all of you who are entrepreneurs because you are the ones I feel like we need to be investing in even more so, because you're the ones who are going to probably pull us out of this pandemic and be even stronger and better on the other side of it. So just do your best to hunker down, manage your resources carefully, and see, we hope we'll see everybody on the other side, right? Either in this business or maybe in another venture that you decide to start afterwards, based on this. So.
Thanks, Jennifer. So our next question is from Kathy Ma. We're a financial data service company in New York. We hope to reach out and sell our data and reports as a subscription service to companies out of the US. Can our data products and services be seen as an export when we reach out to your international marketing and grant program?
Yeah, so I could take that one, Mark. I think that we could consider that as an eligible business for our STEP grant program. I would just need to check. I would want to check with our STEP grant program administrator just to make sure of that. But I feel like that is something we could assist you with, and I would definitely like to talk to you in the future, Kathy. That sounds great.
Fantastic. And then from Brian Darden, of all the grant resources, are there any specific ones that tend to support leadership education for women and other minority communities? So for, I don't know if there's any specific ESD programs in that regard for leadership training. I can say from the BIANYS standpoint, we're going to be launching a pre-incubation program that might help would-be entrepreneurs long before they are looking to enter an incubator, but to flush out their business model and their ideas. But for leadership education, is anybody aware of any programs either through ESD or any other state resources?
Hey, this is Colby. I'm not aware of anything off the top of my head, but if you wanted to reach out and talk in more detail, it'd be great to learn more about what you're thinking of.
Great. This next question is from Jake Blackmore. Are there any limitations on the specific investment programs for a company with a business model that is limited by pandemic restrictions and safety guidelines? And that's for Jennifer specifically.
I guess I'm not sure. Jake, if you want to reach out to me afterwards, I'm not sure the full context of the question. I mean, certainly for a company with a business model limited by pandemic restrictions. So, I mean, we don't have any specific restrictions around that, but I don't know fully kind of what the issue might be. So you feel free to reach out to me afterwards, and we can have a conversation about it.
Okay. And then again for Jennifer, you're a very popular panelist, Jennifer. This is from Tom Murdoch. Given that New York Ventures can't lead rounds, are you comfortable that the relevant leader know about you and when to bring you in? As an incubator person, I'm aware of what you do, but it seems sending companies directly to you might be inappropriate.
So honestly, we talk to companies first and foremost all the time. So it's never inappropriate to let us talk to a company. But I will say that there are better times than others in the trajectory of a company to come to us. So certainly at a point when that company is beginning to raise funding, and most importantly, when they get a term sheet. But usually the sweet spot for us is to come to us when they're starting to raise the round and when they're getting close to a lead investor, because that time is right. But the more that venture capital is a relationship business, and it's through at New York Ventures and ESD. And so the more that we can establish a relationship with you and get to know you prior to making the leap of making an investment in your company, the better it serves us and the better it'll serve you, because you'll have a good sense of who we are and what we can offer you, as well as us getting to know, your background, your company, your team, and be able to help guide you. And we certainly work with because we only syndicate rounds with other investors, we certainly work with a lot of investors, and we may even be able to help guide you to people who can lead or be other investors in your company as well.
Okay, next question.
Oh, and Mark,
oh, yeah.
Mark, just briefly, So previously, like 1 or 2 questions ago with the minority women-owned business programs, that question, I just wanted to refer everybody to our New York State minority and women-owned business enterprise website. You can certify your business as an MWBE business if it's 51% owned by minority or women, and then that would just be at least something that I could direct businesses here to. And there's other kind of technical programs or technical assistance, I believe, on the website there that companies could take a look at. So if you just Google New York State or NYS MWBE, it should take you right there, and that would just be a resource to take a look at.
Okay, thank you so much. Next question is from Miguet Pateau. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I have a glass crushing company. Can crushed glass be considered an export, and can I get assistance to buyers overseas? I guess that might be a Ed question or a Lauren question.
Maybe a Brian question, but I'll take a.
Yeah.
Take
oh yeah. If you want to go first, Ed. Yeah.
If the glass is destined for export markets, yeah. I mean, we understand that goods, paper goods, and metals and glass are things that are recycled and are actually significant exports in the state of New York. So. In that you'd like to explore that market. I think Brian and the crew, first of all, our foreign offices can certainly help validate the market if you're not aware of particular markets, countries, or market channels. And then obviously Brian and the crew have an ability to offset the cost of exploring some of those markets.
Yeah, and I would just add, as long as the product is being changed in some way, or you can document that, and if you're crushing this glass product, then I think that could very well count as an exportable product. So yeah, I'd be happy to talk with you some more about that and see how we might be able to assist you.
Okay. Here's a question from Cletisha Walden. I have a education training company, a virtual school. Will this be able to be done in international markets?
So I can take that one as well. We've been trying for a long time with the Small Business Administration, who gives us the funding for the STEP grant program, to modify it so we can include educational services, because at the moment they don't allow that as part of an eligible export under STEP. So we wouldn't be able to assist you there, unfortunately, but we may be able to assist you with the EMAS program. There's a New York State program, so if there's a market you're looking for, of the markets that we have coverage in, we could talk to you about that, and you could complete an EMAS application. And again, this program is a free service, so that would be some way we could provide assistance.
Okay. Great. Any other questions?
There
was one above from Robinson Hernandez about virtual programming.
Okay, hold on. I might have missed that one. Oh, okay. We host virtual programming to help introduce international companies to the New York State market. Can ESD help facilitate introductions on understanding the market and opportunities?
Yes. This is something we do all the time, so absolutely. I'd be curious to know more about exactly what the programming looks like, and Ed and I could certainly help you navigate, make introductions, and possibly, be a part of that programming.
Great. And then a question from Anurag Pawar. Does the STEP program require companies to work with specific vendors for reimbursement?
Yeah, so as far as specific vendors go, there is no requirement that we don't have a list of vendors for different activities or even recommended vendors. That is entirely on the company to identify one that they're comfortable with. As long as it's a reputable vendor that's able to provide the certifications that are needed or provide the service as requested to the business. But there's no specific vendor list. So if you find one that's a good fit for you that can do the job, then we can help, as long as the product is eligible and we can grant the award to you, that won't be a problem.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Want to thank, first of all of the folks that joined us today, and definitely for our panel. This was a great overview for our incubators and our incubated clients and some of our guests here today. I'm sure we're going to all have a lot of emails to answer next week on these programs. So we'll be talking, over the next few weeks on how best to help companies integrate internationally and expand their sales and their exports. Thanks so much for your time, all.
Mark, thanks.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Mark and Aaron.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.